enthusiastically. You deserve a new kitchen, honey. And I've been wanting to replace that old couch forever. I've always wanted a exactly. Mark agreed. Deal leather sectional. They continued planning how to spend my life savings, laughing, dreaming aloud about renovations and new furniture. Meanwhile, I stood in their kitchen, peeling potatoes for their dinner, invisible, insignificant, reduced to nothing more than a bank account with legs. I took a shaking breath. I dried my hands on my apron and moved slowly toward the kitchen doorway. I stood there silently, watching them both sprawled on the couch. Mark held his phone, probably already searching for furniture prices online. Patricia leaned against him, smiling, pointing at the screen with manicured nails. My son. My only son. The boy I'd raised alone after his father walked out when he was barely 3 years old. The boy I'd worked 3 jobs simultaneously for, just to send him to a decent school. The boy who'd graduated as an engineer because I'd sewn clothes until 4 in the morning for years to pay his private university tuition. That boy was now a 40-year-old man who'd just called me old and useless. I retreated to the kitchen before they noticed me. I finished peeling the potatoes mechanically, my hands moving on autopilot. I set them to boil. I prepared the rice, the beans, the chicken, all while my mind churned and boiled along with the food. 18 years. 18 years living in this house, relegated to the smallest room, the one that had once been a storage closet. 18 years where a twin bed and a single wardrobe barely fit. 18 years of cooking, cleaning, washing, ironing without a word of genuine thanks. 18 years of handing over my entire $1,200 monthly pension check without question, because Mark said it was to help with expenses. Despite I at 65 years old, I stood frozen at the kitchen sink when I heard my son's voice drift through the wall. Use my mom's card. She's got $700,000 just sitting there. In that single moment, 18 years of silent suffering crystallized into perfect clarity. What I did in the next 48 hours would shatter my family's comfortable illusions and reclaim the life I'd surrendered long ago. But first, if you're enjoying this story, please subscribe to Elderly Stories and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. We love knowing how far our stories travel. I was peeling potatoes when the words sliced through the thin wall separating the kitchen from the living room. My son Mark's voice carried that casual tone people use when discussing trivial matters, like borrowing a cup of sugar or using someone's Netflix password. Honey, just use my mom's card. She's got about $700,000 sitting in her account doing nothing. The potato slipped from my fingers. The peeling knife clattered against the stainless steel sink, the sound reverberating through the kitchen like a gunshot. My heart hammered against my ribs so violently I thought it might break through. 65 years of life. 45 years of back-breaking work as a seamstress, a house cleaner, a cook. Every single dollar of that $700,000 carried a story, of blood, sweat, sleepless nights, aching joints, and swollen hands that could barely grip a needle by day's end. And my son had just offered it up as casually as if it were his lunch money. Are you sure? Won't she mind? Patricia's voice, my daughter-in-law, had that syrupy sweetness I'd learned to recognize over 18 years. The tone that meant she was about to get exactly what she wanted. Mom won't say anything, Mark replied with disturbing confidence. She lives here rent-free, eats our food, uses our electricity and water. It's the least she can do to help out when we need it. Besides, she's old now. What does she need that much money for at her age? Each word landed like a physical blow. Old. Rent-free. The least she can do. As if I were dead weight, a charitable case, a burden they'd graciously agreed to carry out of the goodness of their hearts. I gripped the edge of the sink, my knuckles white. My vision blurred, but I refused to let the tears fall. Not yet. I'd cried too many tears in this house over the past 18 years. Ever since Mark had convinced me to sell my modest 2-bedroom apartment to help with his down payment on this house, where they now treated me like an unwelcome stranger. Wow, $700,000. Patricia's voice rose with excitement. That's enough to completely remodel the kitchen and replace all the living room furniture and an excellent salary as an engineer, despite Patricia's well-paying boutique job. 18 years of feeling like an intruder in the house I'd helped purchase. Because yes, when I sold my apartment and gave Mark $200,000, he'd promised it was a loan. I'll pay you back in 2 years, Mom, as soon as I get my promotion. That was 18 years ago. The promotion came. The money never did. And when I dared mention it, Mark had gotten irritated. Mom, you live here, don't you? That's worth more than $200,000. Stop being so cheap. Cheap. Me. The woman who'd given every cent she had for her son. I was cheap. Lunch was ready. I set everything on the table as always. Mark and Patricia came to sit without a word of thanks. It was routine. I was the invisible maid. Mom, this chicken is a bit tough, Mark commented, chewing with obvious disapproval. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Next time I'll marinate it longer. Patricia rolled her eyes, not subtly, but just discreet enough to maintain plausible deniability. I saw it. I always saw everything. I ate in silence, each bite feeling like sand in my throat. My mind raced through 1,000 thoughts per second. I had to do something. I couldn't continue living like this. I couldn't let them treat my life savings as if it were their personal slush fund. After lunch, I washed the dishes while they returned to the living room. I heard Patricia announce she was going to the mall that afternoon. My heart rate spiked. She was going to use my card. They were actually going to do it. I locked myself in my tiny room and sat on the edge of the bed, my phone trembling in my hands. I dialed the number I'd memorized years ago. National Bank. Good afternoon. This is Jennifer speaking. How may I help you? Good afternoon. I need to block my card immediately. My voice emerged stronger than I'd expected. Of course. May I have your full name and identifying information, please? I provided all my details, answered the security questions, confirmed my date of birth. Each second felt like an eternity. Understood, Mrs. Helen. Was there a problem with the card? Was it lost or stolen? Let's just say someone is trying to use it without my authorization. Perfect. I'm blocking it right now. As of this moment, no transactions can be made with this card. Would you like us to issue a replacement? Yes, but please don't send it to this address. I'll pick it up in person at the branch next week. No problem at all. Your card has been blocked as of 2:17 p.m. Is there anything else I can help you with today? No, thank you so much. I ended the call and pressed the phone against my chest. My heart still pounded, but there was something new mixed with the fear, relief, empowerment. I couldn't name it, but for the first time in years, I'd made a decision that was entirely my own. I sat there for nearly an hour, just breathing, thinking, processing. I heard Patricia preparing to leave, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor, the rustle of her purse, keys jingling. Bye, honey. I'm heading to the mall to pick up a few things. Your mom lent me her card, she called out cheerfully. Lent. What an interesting word choice for theft. Great. Have fun. Mark called back. The front door slammed. The car engine started. The sound faded down the street. And I sat there on my twin bed in my closet-sized room, waiting. It didn't take long. Less than an hour later, my cell phone began ringing. Mark. I didn't answer the first call. I let it ring through to voicemail. He called again, and again, and again. On the 5th call, I answered. Mom, where are you? His voice was agitated, borderline frantic. In my room, son. Why? Patricia just called me from the mall. She says your card is blocked. Did you block it? A long, heavy silence stretched between us. I could hear his impatient breathing on the other end of the line. Yes, I finally replied, my voice calm in a way that surprised even me. I blocked it. What do you mean you blocked it? Why would you do that? Because it's my card, Mark. My money. And I didn't authorize anyone to use it. Mom, don't start with this drama now. Patricia is standing at the register, completely humiliated. She already picked out a bunch of stuff. The saleswoman is waiting. Do you have any idea how ridiculous this is? I have a very clear idea that you both tried to spend my money without asking me. That's what's ridiculous. Stop being so dramatic. It was just a few things for the house where you live, in case you've forgotten. I took a deep breath. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to lose my composure. Mark, I heard you this morning. I heard you say I live here rent-free, that I'm old and don't need that much money. I heard you planning to spend $700,000 as if it belonged to you. Silence on the other end. A different kind of silence. The silence of someone caught red-handed. Mom, it wasn't exactly like that. It was exactly like that, son. Word for word. And no, I'm not unblocking the card. Tell Patricia to come home. The three of us need to talk. I ended the call before he could respond. My hands shook, but a new strength was growing inside me, a strength I hadn't known I still possessed. Half an hour later, I heard Patricia's car screech into the driveway. The front door flew open with such force it slammed against the wall. Her heels struck the floor like gunshots. Where is your mother? Her voice dripped with venom. Patricia, please calm down. Let's discuss this rationally. Mark tried to soothe her. Calm down. Calm down. Your mother just caused me the worst humiliation of my entire life. There were at least 20 people in that store watching the saleswoman swipe the card over and over again. I had to abandon everything and run out of there. I stood up from my bed. I smoothed my clothes. I took a deep breath and opened my door. I walked to the living room where they both stood. Patricia stared at me with eyes full of fury. Mark sat on the couch looking profoundly uncomfortable. We need to talk, I said, keeping my voice level. Talk. Patricia took a step toward me, her face flushed. You humiliated me. You made me look like a complete fool in front of everyone. I didn't humiliate you, Patricia. You tried to spend my money without my permission. That's called theft. Theft? We're family. Families share. Families don't steal. Families ask. Families respect. And you didn't ask me for anything. You simply took my card as if I didn't exist. Mom, enough. Mark interjected. Patricia was just going to buy some things we genuinely need. New furniture, a kitchen remodel, improvements to the house. $700,000 on furniture and a remodel. I interrupted. And that seems reasonable to you, Mark. You have that money just sitting there doing nothing. You're not using it for anything. We work. We pay all the bills for this house. We support you. It's only fair we use some of that money. Those words, we support you, as if I were a burden, an obligation, a favor they were graciously bestowing upon me. You support me. My voice rose higher than I'd intended. I give you my entire pension check every month. $1,200 that you never return. I cook, I clean, I wash, I iron. I do everything in this house without receiving a single cent in return. How exactly is that you supporting me? That $1,200 barely covers your food, Patricia replied with disdain. Then let me leave. Let me buy my own place and stop being such a burden to you both. I saw Mark and Patricia exchange a quick glance, a look I couldn't quite decipher at that moment, but which I understood perfectly later. Mom, nobody said you were a burden. Don't be so dramatic, Mark said, though his voice lacked conviction. You said I'm old and don't need money. You said I live here rent-free. If that's not calling me a burden, then what is it? Look, Helen. Patricia crossed her arms defensively. Let's be honest here. You have nowhere to go. You don't have other children. You have no family. Your friends are all in the same situation as you, or worse. What are you going to do? Live alone in some depressing apartment? Eat alone? Die alone? Her words struck like calculated slaps, each one designed to hurt, to make me feel small, useless, without options. I would rather be alone in peace than accompanied and miserable, I replied, surprised by my own courage. So dramatic. Patricia scoffed. No one is making you miserable. We give you everything. But of course, nothing is ever enough for you, is it? You don't give me anything. I pay with my pension, with my labor, with my dignity. And this conversation is over. I'm not changing my mind about the card. I turned and walked back to my room. I locked the door and leaned against it, listening to them continue arguing outside. Patricia blaming Mark for being weak with me. Mark trying to calm her down. Both of them discussing me as if I were a problem that needed solving. I sat on my bed and picked up my phone. There was only one person I could call right now. My friend Regina. Helen. Is everything all right? It's almost 9 at night. Regina's voice carried immediate concern. And then I broke down. I told her everything, from the conversation I'd overheard that morning to the confrontation that had just occurred. I cried into the phone like I hadn't cried in years. Regina listened without interruption, letting me pour out everything until I had no words left. Helen, listen to me very carefully, she said when I finally fell silent. Tomorrow morning, you're going to pack a bag and come to my house. You can stay here as long as you need while you search for your own apartment. You cannot stay in that house any longer. It's destroying your soul. Regina, I can't impose on you like that. Your apartment is tiny. I have a sofa bed in my living room that's more comfortable than being in that house where they don't value you. Tomorrow, Helen. This isn't a request, it's an order. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay on that twin bed staring at the low ceiling of my closet room, replaying every moment that had led me to this point. I remembered when I'd sold my apartment, a small place, but it had been mine. 2 bedrooms, a living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom. I'd bought it through sheer determination at age 42, paying installments for 15 years. Every room had been furnished little by little through sacrifice and careful planning. But when Mark married Patricia and said they wanted a bigger house but didn't have money for the down payment, I hadn't hesitated. I sold my apartment for $200,000 and gave him every cent. It's a loan, Mom. I'll pay you back in 2 years, with interest. I promise. His eyes had shone with hope that day. 2 years became 5, then 10, then 15, and now 18. The loan became a favor, which became you have a roof and food, that's worth more than $200,000. As if my home, my life's achievement, was worth nothing more than room and board. When I'd moved into their house, Patricia had shown me the room, the smallest one. It used to be a storage closet we converted, she'd said with a smile that never reached her eyes. It's cozy, but it's just temporary, mother-in-law. Soon you'll want your own space again, I'm sure. Temporary. 18 years of temporary. When dawn broke, I rose earlier than usual. I showered, dressed, and began packing my belongings. I didn't have much, simple clothes, a few pairs of shoes, old photographs, important documents. Everything fit into 2 worn suitcases. I prepared breakfast as always, leaving everything ready on the table. But this time, I didn't stay to serve them. I returned to my room and waited. I heard Mark and Patricia wake up, heard their footsteps around the house, their muted voices. Neither knocked on my door to check on me, as usual. Mark left for work at 7:30. Patricia left at 8 o'clock. When her car disappeared down the street, I grabbed my suitcases and walked out the front door. I left the house keys on the small entry table. Next to them, I placed a note I'd written during the sleepless night. Mark, I'm leaving. I can no longer live in a house where my only value is my bank account. Thank you for these 18 years, but I need to reclaim my dignity. When I'm settled in my new place, I'll send you the address. I love you, but I need to love myself more. Mom. I called an Uber and waited on the sidewalk with my 2 suitcases. The next-door neighbor, Mr. Robert, was watering his plants. "Good morning, Mrs. Helen. Going on a trip?" "Something like that, Mr. Robert. Something like that." The car arrived within 5 minutes. The driver helped me with the suitcases. As we pulled away, I looked back at the house where I'd spent 18 years. A beautiful house, large and well-maintained. But it had never been my home. It had been my prison. Regina was waiting at her building entrance when I arrived. She hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe, and in that embrace, I released all the tears I'd been holding back. "You're here. You're safe now," she whispered, stroking my hair. I walked through each room, imagining my life there. My small bed in the bedroom. My few clothes in the built-in closet. My photographs on the walls. I imagined making coffee in that kitchen, sitting by that window to read, sleeping soundly without fear. I saw my future in those empty walls. And that future was bright. "I want it," I said with a firmness that surprised me. "I'm going to buy it." The agent smiled broadly. "Excellent decision, Mrs. Helen. It's an apartment with very good energy. The previous owner lived here for 15 years. She only left because she moved to another state to be near her daughter." We discussed paperwork and necessary documents. He gave me contact information for a trusted lawyer. Regina's apartment was genuinely small, living room, bedroom, kitchen, and bathroom, but it was clean, organized, and most importantly, filled with peace. There was no tension in the air, no judgmental looks, no cruel words waiting to wound. "The sofa bed is all yours. It's not fancy, but it's comfortable. And this home is your home for as long as you need it," Regina said as she showed me where to put my things. We spent the morning organizing. Regina made space in her closet for my clothes, showed me where everything was in the kitchen, made me feel welcome in 1,000 small but significant ways. Around noon, my cell phone started ringing. "Mark." I didn't answer. He called repeatedly. On the 10th call, he left a voicemail. "Mom, where are you? I came home for lunch and you're gone. I saw your note. Please call me. I'm worried." Worried. How interesting that he was worried now. Regina looked at me questioningly. "Are you going to answer?" "Not yet. I need to think clearly first. I need to know what I'm going to do before I talk to him." I turned off my phone. I needed silence, peace, time to process everything and decide my next steps. That afternoon, Regina and I sat on her small balcony with cups of coffee. From there, we could see the city moving below us, life happening in all its chaotic beauty. "You know what hurts the most, Regina," I said after a long silence. "It's not the money they tried to spend. It's not even the disrespect. What hurts most is realizing I spent 18 years trying to earn back my son's love. And now I see that his love was always conditional on what I could give him." Regina took my hand in hers, wrinkled hands like mine, marked by years but strong and warm. "Helen, you didn't spend 18 years trying to earn his love. You gave 18 years of unconditional love. That's very different. The problem isn't you. The problem is that Mark and that woman never learned to value what they had. But I'm his mother. Mothers sacrifice for their children. That's what we do." Yes, mothers love their children. But children must also love their mothers. Love isn't a one-way street, Helen. And sacrifice has limits. When sacrifice is destroying your soul, it's not love anymore, it's self-destruction. She was right, as she always was. Regina had been my friend since we'd worked together in a textile factory over 40 years ago. She knew me better than anyone. "Now you need to think about yourself," Regina continued. "About what Helen wants. About what Helen needs to be happy." "I want my own apartment," I said, the words emerging with surprising clarity. "I want my own space where no one makes me feel like I'm in the way. Where I can have morning coffee without feeling like I'm stealing someone else's electricity." Then that's exactly what we're going to get. Tomorrow we start apartment hunting. That night, I slept on Regina's sofa bed. It was the best sleep I'd had in years. No tension, no fear of footsteps or irritated voices. Only peace. Saturday morning, I woke without an alarm. It was nearly 9 o'clock when I opened my eyes. I couldn't remember the last time I'd slept that late. Regina was already in the kitchen making coffee. The aroma brought a warmth I hadn't felt in so long. Good morning. Fresh coffee and buttered toast. Today's the day we find your new home, she announced with a bright smile. We had breakfast talking about everything and nothing. No pressure, no complaints, just two old friends sharing a quiet moment. Afterward, we got ready and headed out. Regina had scheduled 4 apartments for us to view that day, all within my budget. The first was too dark, with small windows that barely allowed sunlight in. The second was in a half-abandoned building that smelled of mildew. The third was perfect, except it was on the 5th floor with no elevator, and my knees couldn't handle those stairs daily. But the fourth one captured my heart the moment I walked in. It was on the 3rd floor of a well-maintained building. The living room had a large window overlooking a section of the park. The kitchenette was functional. The bedroom was spacious. The bathroom was clean. It wasn't large, about 650 square feet, but it was cozy, bright, and had wonderful energy. How much are they asking? I asked the real estate agent showing us the property. $300,000. It includes a parking space and a storage unit in the basement. Building maintenance is $500 monthly. $300,000. I could pay cash and still have $400,000 remaining to live comfortably, to handle emergencies, to have peace of mind in my final years. Can I see it again? Who could handle the legal aspects? We left the building and Regina practically shouted with joy right there on the street. You did it! You're going to have your own home. I'm going to have my own home, I repeated, feeling a huge smile spread across my face. We returned to Regina's apartment euphoric, making plans for decorating, discussing what furniture I'd need. It was then, in the midst of that happiness, that I decided to turn on my phone. I had 47 missed calls from Mark, 23 from Patricia, and over 60 messages. The first messages were worried. Mom, where are you? Please answer. We're desperate. At least tell us you're okay. But the tone quickly shifted. Mom, this is ridiculous. Stop the drama. We need to resolve this. And the final ones were almost threatening. If you don't answer, I'm calling the police. This is abandonment. Regina read the messages over my shoulder and snorted indignantly. Abandonment? As if you abandoned a child. You're 65 years old, an independent adult. I need to respond, but through text. I don't want to hear his voice yet. I sat on the couch and composed a long message, choosing each word carefully. Mark. I'm fine. I'm in a safe place with a friend. I needed to leave that house to preserve my mental health. For 18 years I lived feeling like a burden, and what happened was the final straw. I've bought my own apartment. I'll be moving in next week. This isn't punishment, it's self-respect. When I'm settled, I'll send you the address. I love you, but I need to love myself more. Mom. I pressed send before I could second-guess myself. I saw the 2 check marks indicating delivery, then they turned blue. He'd read it. The 3 dots appeared showing he was typing. They disappeared. Appeared again. Disappeared. Finally, his reply came. Mom, this is insane. You can't just buy an apartment like that. Who's going to take care of you? Who's going to help you if you get sick? And Patricia is very upset. She says you owe her an apology for the embarrassment at the mall. We need you to come back so we can discuss this like adults. I read the message 3 times. No apology from him. No acknowledgement of what they'd done. Just more manipulation, more attempts to make me feel guilty. Are you going to respond? Regina asked. Yes. I wrote a short, clear reply. Mark, I'm 65 years old, not 95. I can take perfectly good care of myself. And I don't owe Patricia any apology. She tried to spend $700,000 of my money without permission. If anyone owes an apology, it's you both. We'll talk when I'm ready. Mom. After sending it, I turned the phone off again. I didn't want to read any more manipulation attempts. Sunday was a day of absolute peace. Regina and I went to church in the morning, something I hadn't been able to do in years because Sundays were when Patricia hosted big family lunches and I had to cook for everyone. Afterward, we strolled through the flea market looking for second-hand furniture. I found a beautiful solid wood dining table for only $150. The seller helped me load it into a taxi. I also bought a set of pans in excellent condition for $80, along with plates, glasses, and bath towels. Regina insisted on buying me a new set of sheets as a gift. So you can start your new life with fresh linens, no history attached, she said as she paid. I couldn't hold back tears of gratitude, emotion, and relief. We stored everything in the storage unit at Regina's building, waiting for the day I could move into my new apartment. Monday morning, I went to the office of the lawyer the real estate agent had recommended. His name was Mr. Matthew, a man in his 50s, serious but kind. He reviewed all my documents, verified the apartment's legal status, and explained every step of the process. Mrs. Helen, everything is in order. The apartment has no debts, no liens. We can finalize the purchase this Friday. Are you certain you want to pay in cash? You could arrange financing if you prefer not to use so much of your savings. No, I want to pay cash. I want it to be completely mine, no debts, no monthly payments. I've waited my entire life for this moment. I understand perfectly. Then Friday at 10 a.m., we'll meet here to sign the deed. You'll need to bring $270,000 plus $30,000 for fees and transfer taxes. We'll deduct the $10,000 deposit you've already made. $300,000 total, less than half my savings. I could do this. I was going to do this. I left the office feeling stronger than ever. I walked through the city looking at everything with new eyes, the shops, the buildings, the people. Everything seemed different when you were building your own life instead of merely surviving in someone else's. When I returned to Regina's apartment, I briefly turned on my phone to check messages. Mark had sent only one more, and the tone had completely changed. Mom, I talked to Patricia. She's willing to apologize if you apologize too. We can forget this whole misunderstanding if you come back today. We miss you. The house isn't the same without you. Please think carefully before making an irreversible mistake. An irreversible mistake. As if buying my own home was an error. As if reclaiming my dignity was something to regret. I didn't reply. I had nothing more to say to him at that moment. The following days were a mixture of nervousness and excitement. Regina and I continued buying things for the apartment. A small but comfortable couch we found at a clearance sale for $400, a used double bed in excellent condition for $300, a bookshelf, curtains, a bedside lamp. I also went to the bank to arrange everything for the payment. The manager, a young woman named Chloe, was extremely helpful. Mrs. Helen, that's a considerable amount. Are you absolutely certain this is a legitimate transaction? We want to ensure you're not a victim of fraud. It's not fraud, dear. I'm buying my first home at 65. Chloe's face lit up with a genuine smile. How wonderful! Congratulations! My grandmother also bought her house at 68, after separating from my grandfather. She said they were the best years of her life. Those words filled me with hope. It wasn't too late. It was never too late to start over. Thursday night, the eve of signing the deed, Mark showed up at Regina's building. I don't know how he discovered the address. He probably tracked down an acquaintance or followed some lead. He buzzed the intercom insistently until Regina answered. Who is it? It's Mark, Helen's son. I need to speak with my mother. I heard his voice through the speaker. Regina looked at me, silently asking what I wanted to do. I took a deep breath. Let him come up. But you stay here with me. Regina nodded. Minutes later, Mark was knocking on the door. When I opened it, I was shocked to see how haggard he looked. Deep dark circles, wrinkled clothes, disheveled hair. He didn't resemble the successful engineer he usually projected. Mom. His voice faltered. Mark, I replied without stepping aside, without inviting him in. Can we talk? Right here is fine. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Mom, this has spiraled out of control. I know Patricia and I made a mistake. We shouldn't have taken your card without permission. But you didn't have to leave like that, without really telling us, leaving us worried sick. Mark, I left a note explaining exactly why I left. It wasn't impulsive. It was necessary. But we're family, Mom. Families forgive. Families solve problems together, they don't run away.